This is Pulse 95. You're listening to the Morning Majlis podcast.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
We're very kindly joined by Heather French, who is the head of EYFS as well as the HPL at the Scholars International Academy. Very good morning to you.
Good morning. It's lovely to be here.
Great to have you on board with us. Now, end of school term in Sharjah. This is going to be the final week. How's the end of the first term been for you in the year 2023 to 24?
Well, we've very much enjoyed this term. We've had a super set of experiences to give the children. We've had plenty of trips and excursions out of school, which is always popular. Mm-hmm. We've had lots of events in the school, invited lots of visitors and speakers so that we get a really good kind of whole community feeling and sensation in our school. So we're very pleased with how things have gone this term.
And you know, being educated here in Sharjah, one thing that I possibly took for granted and then realised when I went back to the UK for university was how multicultural the education system is here and how that makes you a multicultural individual. And that's priceless. You know, when you're going and you're working abroad, it's an employable factor. Do you think that is really important for schools to embrace that, to really welcome all people from all walks of life into their school to really help the kids out?
I think that's a really important factor. I myself chose to put my two sons through international school here in the UAE for that very reason. I trained as a teacher in the UK and did a few years back there and decided to make international education my career. So it's very close to my heart. So important for so many reasons. I'm not quite sure where to begin, but I would definitely say after having two sons go through university that they were very familiar with so many different cultures and respected and were interested in so very many different people. And I think that is a huge plus for the UAE. And certainly it's a chance for us as educators to help support that kind of growth mindset, to be able to look at the perspective and opinions of others and to be able to really embrace the fact that people have different cultural beliefs, etc., and that we can learn from each other. So for me, that's a real highlight of working here in this global community.
It is also common that we hear about the high performance learning.
Yes.
I would like to know more about what it is and its benefits and its impact on learner development.
Okay, so I am the high performance learning lead of the whole school. And what we really fundamentally believe in is that there is no ceiling for children. So all learners can achieve their highest potential and we mustn't put a cap on that. So it's about ensuring that learners come into school with a certain belief system that they can do as well as everybody else. And we scaffold that learning to ensure that that happens in a school. We don't put children into groups of low ability and middle ability like many schools have done in the past, and to be honest, still happens in many schools in the UK. We believe that we're supporting them by ensuring that they have got the skills to be able to discuss their own learning, so that they think about how they need to progress and what skills they need to improve on in order to progress both academically and holistically as a person.
Brilliant. Now, you also look after the creative side for the students. Can you talk to us a little bit about how important is it to push this creative side of things? Because a lot of times it can get balanced out because of trying to gain that academic success, but importance of creativity.
Again, this is very close to my heart, having done a drama and music degree. So for me, again, I'm going back to my boys and I'm going to come back to schools again. Both of my children, they've done science and they've done maths, but they also did music and they also did drama. And I really, truly believe that having the balance of both sides of the spectrum is important. I think that particularly after, the post-COVID scenario, I think we have to understand more about how learners learn. And many learners learn not necessarily through the maths and science world, that they need that ability to express themselves both musically or theatrically or artistically. And we have to tap into that. We have to make sure that we are providing the very best opportunity for learners to be able to access that side of their personality.
It's brilliant. Now, I'd like to use this as a moment to get more tips for the young ones, especially because as you look after the primary side of a school, primary section of the school, they have to make some interesting career choices. So when they go into year 9, maybe into year 10, and even for AS and A2 levels, choices of their subjects becomes very, very important. So when I was younger, I did my history, business studies, and I added drama to have that mix of a relaxed atmosphere and something to be a bit more creative about. How important is it to have a good balance of GCSEs and AS, that you don't get too dragged into extreme academics, that you have the other creative side, be it PE or even drama or DT?
So I'm going to go and answer that question by going back into EYFS.
Yes.
So I think it starts at a very early age.
Yeah.
And we, as a team, have decided to enhance our creative curriculum in SIA. I'm going to just mention that school because we have decided to bring in specialists for 2 or 3 sets of music lessons, which is a big plus, I think, for the early years. We've brought in specialist drama teacher to start right down in the early years. We have specialist art teachers that come in to support teachers and to make that a really huge and central part of our curriculum early on. And that goes up through the school. And so when learners are making that choice, when they're in year 9, as you just mentioned, their options years, they have got the full complement of choice there so that they can make that informed decision and that to know that there are other options. I mean, not everybody is a mathematician. Not everyone is a scientist. So I do think that it's important to have the balance of both right from the very beginning.
I'm glad we're talking about the choices that you're making when you're in year 9 and so forth, because from my perspective, I remember it felt like it was the biggest decision ever. The pressure was massive. And when you're growing up and you are just that age, it is a huge decision. And that pressure can be detrimental to a lot of students and a lot of children these days. And I think the educational sector is ever changing with the understanding of the mental side of it, the mental health and the emotional side that it comes. Do you think that the educational sector understanding mental health can really help the academic development of these children?
Absolutely. I think well-being has been something that's been at the forefront of all schools globally. How can we ensure that our learners are in the very best place that they can be? Because we all know that if we are suffering emotionally, that makes learning that much harder. And we are much more aware of that coming out of the pandemic. Again, that's brought to the highlight. If you like, that's kind of a positive at the end of it, because I think all schools are really taking a step back and looking at the curriculum they're providing. And are we giving enough depth to our wellbeing curriculum? Have we got a wellbeing curriculum, and how is that being integrated across all subject areas? And are we really thinking about skills going forward? I mean, even if we think about drama, the skills that drama bring, that ability to speak, that ability to voice opinions and listen to others, that's all integral, and that's that's why we have really emphasised, for example, drama starting very early on. I think that does help with well-being, and I think having well-being representatives from our learner leaders. We're very proud of our learner leaders at school, and I do think learners supporting other learners is a really important and positive step forward as well. And certainly with HPL being central to our school, that's how we are developing, we are supporting our leadership in that way.
It's brilliant, and I like to commend the drama side of things. And a lot of parents will be thinking, "Why drama? Why do you have to choose it?" I've got to say that it has helped me overcome a lot of stage fright. So those opening lines of "So Foul and Fair a Day I've Not Seen" have made it easier to present.
That was great.
A show.
Showing off now.
Yeah.
But now, can you talk to us a little bit about a message to the parents, when they're really concerned about their children, especially in knowing that there's 4-day work week in Sharjah, so they're concerned about their children's dedication to education, given 3-day weekends. What positive results have you seen of the 3-day weekend here in Sharjah academically?
Okay, so I think what we've really tried to do in this situation is engage parents more frequently and more in depth in our school, in the running of our school, and listening to parents on a regular basis, holding workshops, inviting parents into schools, seeing how we learn, looking at how things may be different perhaps from when parents were at school and how things are happening now. Having dialogue with the parents about, for example, high performance learning, how that's impacting across our school, and how parents can use high performance learning skills both at home, in their home learning, and in life in general. That's really where I think we've been coming from. I think the 3-day weekend has had a very positive impact in terms of the home learning. So we don't call it homework, we call it home learning, because there's a negative implication for some on that homework. So the home learning aspect, we try to get parents involved ourselves with, what does that look like? How can you support? What kind of things, what skills are needed? So for example, in early years, we very much encourage take your child shopping. Have a look at the prices. Are they numbers or letters? That kind of thing. Make a cake. With your learners, with your children. Think about the quantities. For example, it's not all about sitting down and writing worksheets. Practice is very important, and home learning. In home learning activities, there are many practice opportunities. I think that moving away from home learning, actually talking to your child and making sure that you ask them for their opinions and that you listen to their opinions and you give them choices and allow them to develop as individuals, because it's quite easy sometimes for parents to make the dominant decisions, but it's much more about that engagement with the parent child discussion, ensuring that they are listening to their children.
Outside of school, do you see any trend of students nowadays? They're interested in certain skills that are different than when in our generation we were interested, for example, as Abdul Karim said, for example, in drama. Nowadays, where is the shift going? Where's the trend going?
I think, I'm always going to say that technology is there, isn't it? And, so many teachers globally will say that our learners know more than we do, that they are one step ahead, and it's harnessing that. The AI and the use of it is an important discussion that all institutions around the world will be having, and how that's used in schools and at home. I think really also another thing that I am noticing is that our learners are really embracing the community events and leadership opportunities in a way that perhaps that Perhaps it is because we're putting such a lot of emphasis on being part of we are social beings, we are sociable people, and perhaps in COVID, when that was restricted, now we are in a situation we can really develop that, and we can really emphasize that is an important part of being a human being.
I'm really glad you touched on AI there for a little bit, because I'd love to ask you, do you believe that the educational sector looks at AI as more of a challenge or an opportunity when it comes to students these days?
I think both. I think you'll always have those who will try to dissuade the use of it within education and beyond. But I think that is not, personally, I don't think that's the right approach. It's here. We can't ignore it. We have to embrace it. We could have said the same about the internet. We could have said the same. We have to use it. It's finding the right way, and of course that has its challenges, and we're learning ourselves. We're learners in this situation too, and I think it's important to recognize that nobody knows the answers.
No, you're right.
Deep inside, I want to ask you something, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just want to really ask you this. Part of the curriculum, the current curriculum, do you wish that there were school subjects that should be integrated in school curriculums nowadays, especially here in Sharjah? And what are they?
I really do. And top of my list would be sustainability, and the greening of curriculum. And I think a lot of schools, particularly in Sharjah, this has been a huge focus for the ministry here to ensure that we are not surface touching. We're not all doing a project once a year and that's it, we've forgotten about it. That is actually looking at our curriculum and embedding it more deeply and more thoroughly across all subject areas. So yes, sustainability, even things like financial.
Yeah, I was just about to tell you.
Absolutely.
So important.
There are so many other areas that I think we do need to touch on
Right.
and make sure it's covered in our curriculum.
Yeah, financial knowledge especially, it's very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why the point that you raised about taking your children to supermarkets is a very useful tool to get them to understand the importance of budgeting and why you choose a certain product. Well, Heather French, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
This is Pulse 95. Tune in live every weekday from 7 a.m.